clear that the member opposite is driving for a Christmas election.
If they want their budget passed, they have to make it an affordable budget so that there's affordable food and affordable quality of life.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Questions orales, oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After 9 Liberal tax and spend inflationary and costly deficits, Canadians are hungry. Hungry for an affordable budget. Hungry, according to a report by Food Banks Canada called the Hunger Count, which shows that there's been a 100% increase in the number of people relying on food banks since Liberals brought in numerous taxes on food. Will the Prime Minister finally, for the first time, introduce an affordable budget for affordable food and affordable living?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, in fact, someone recently said that there's early signs of progress, including easing housing pressures and new social supports that are offering progress. In fact, this person went on to say that ambitious poverty reduction strategies like affordable housing pilots and the Canadian Dental Care Plan and the National School Food Program are showing early promise. Guess who said that, Mr. Speaker? The CEO of Food Bank Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
If any of that were true, there would not be a 100% increase in the number of people relying on food banks. The numbers speak for themselves, Mr. Speaker, and that's after a decade of Liberal inflationary taxes and deficits that have driven 2.2 million people to the food bank. One of them is Jacqueline Stone. She works 2 jobs. She works at a grocery store, Mr. Speaker. She cannot afford to shop at the grocery store where she works. In her name and in the name of 2.2 million people lined up at food banks, will we finally get an affordable budget for affordable food and affordable living?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
So I just heard the Leader of the Opposition say that the CEO of the Food Bank, Canada Food Bank, actually doesn't know what she's talking about when she wrote the report that they're quoting from. It's really hard to follow, isn't it, Mr. Speaker? But I will say this. It's clear that the member opposite is driving for a Christmas election, and I really hope that's not true, because Canadians are counting on us to pass this budget, to make the school food program permanent, to increase the benefits that Canadians are working on for so hard for, including the announcement yesterday for service support workers.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
If they want their budget passed, they have to make it an affordable budget so that there's affordable food and affordable quality of life for the Canadian people, including people like Jacqueline Stone. As I said, she works at a grocery store and can't afford groceries. We already know about carpenters who build homes but can't afford homes after 10 years of Liberals. This is the story she tells. She says, you find yourself going through the grocery store, grabbing what you need, and when you get ready to check out, you pretty much have to do an audit of your cart to see if you can afford everything. Sometimes you have to put things back. It's embarrassing and disheartening. People like her have been working too hard for too long. Will they get an affordable budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
You're here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives cannot have it both ways. They say Canadians are facing challenges, and yet they dismiss the ways of helping them get through these challenges. The same Food Banks Canada report they cite mentions the Canada Disability Benefit, the Canadian Dental Care Plan, the National School Food Program, the National Housing Strategy as steps taken to address the underlying conditions that contribute to poverty. When it comes time to step up, what did the Conservatives opposite do? They voted against these supports. They will have another opportunity to change their tune and support that budget. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, if any of those promises were actually coming true, we wouldn't have a 100% increase in the number of people lined up at food bank, a number that has increased again this year after this Prime Minister took office promising that he would be judged by the prices at the grocery store. 700,000 kids, a record number, are lined up at food banks while they make phony promises that they never keep on the Liberal side of the aisle. Every dollar the government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians who can't pay any more. The more Liberals spend, the more things cost. Will they finally bring forward an affordable budget for affordable food so Canadians can have an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, so either the member opposite, the Leader of the Conservative Party, wants a Christmas election, or he wants to deny what's in that actual report, which is to take action to make programs that are making Canadians' lives more affordable, stronger, permanent, and more generous, which is what we've done, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're doing, and we're going to continue to do it. In fact, what the CEO has said is that we're on the right track. We have to continue to move forward, and we really hope they don't vote against these things again.
The signature promise on which the Prime Minister was elected was to, quote-unquote, negotiate a win with the Americans, to get a deal by July 21st. And here we are, late October, still no deal, still no win, still no elbows, still no jobs, and American tariffs have doubled since the Prime Minister promised he would get rid of them. Yesterday, his latest excuse was that an Ontario government ad prevented him from keeping his promise. So, yes or no, did the Prime Minister or his staff see the ad before it went out?
Yes. The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, I'll repeat the answer I just gave to the Leader of the Opposition in French, because he asked the same question in English. Our government, Mr. Speaker, was elected to negotiate an agreement with the United States that's in the interests of Canadian workers and the Canadian industries. Unlike the Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, we're not going to sign whatever agreement the Americans might suggest. We're going to sign an agreement that benefits Canadian workers and the Canadian economy. And at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we're going to build in Canada, we're going to invest in Canada, and we're going to support Canadian workers and Canadian business.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister promised that he'd have a good deal by July 21st. That date has come and gone. And his latest excuse is an ad from the Government of Ontario. He claims that's why he couldn't keep his promise and get a deal. So, yes or no? Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went out?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said a moment ago, our government is committed to working with all partners in our federation, to work with premiers in every part of the country, to work with union leaders and business leaders, to support the Canadian economy and Canadian workers, and to negotiate with the Americans for a deal that's in the interests of Canada. That's been the government position from the beginning. I'm proud of the work that we've done with all the premiers and businesses and union leaders across the country.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, it's the Prime Minister who has said that the ad prevented him from keeping his promise and getting a deal. He claims he was on the verge of getting that deal. So surely if he saw an ad that would interrupt the deal, he would have said no and hit the brakes. So the question is, yes or no? Did the Prime Minister or anyone on his staff see the ad before it went out? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to doing the serious work necessary to get a deal with the United States and to build a strong, resilient Canadian economy. That was the commitment we made to Canadians in the election. That was an election that the Leader of the Opposition lost because people didn't believe he would be serious in either supporting Canadian workers, Canadian businesses, or standing up to the Americans for a deal that's in the interest of all Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Being serious means being honest and telling Canadians.
The member can continue, and we'll get a few extra seconds to make up for the interruption.
Being honest is a joke to these Liberals, Mr. Speaker.
There can't be too many interruptions because I can't afford that much time, but the member could continue.
Did the Prime Minister or his staff see the ad before it went out? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, I can imagine the frustration that the Leader of the Opposition feels when he sees a Prime Minister elected to take this serious economic and sovereignty challenge with all of the seriousness it deserves. That's why Canadians thought the Leader of the Opposition wasn't up to that task. That's why Canadians chose a Prime Minister who takes serious issues seriously, who will defend Canadian workers and Canadian businesses and stand up for the right deal for Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister says the reason he doesn't have a deal is because of an ad. Did he or his staff see the ad before it went out? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, I can understand the Leader of the Opposition may be frustrated for a whole series of reasons. He's got a caucus meeting coming up this week. He may be very concerned about that as well. Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the Leader of the Opposition and all colleagues in the House is the Prime Minister is committed to doing the difficult, serious work necessary to build the strongest economy in the G7. That starts by supporting Canadian workers, building big in Canada again, and doing everything necessary to get the deal with the Americans that will be in the interest of Canadian workers and Canadian business.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, there are 100,000 more Canadian workers out of a job since the Prime Minister promised to protect their jobs. He says that they're going to get the best economy in the G7. It's the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. I met with auto workers in Windsor over the weekend who are terrified that the Prime Minister's failures are going to cost them their jobs. He looked those workers in the eyes and he said he would have a good deal by July 21st, and he broke his promise. Now he's blaming an ad. He has a duty to say whether or not he saw the ad that he says blew up the so-called deal he had. So will he do the honest thing and answer the question, did he see the ad, or is it actually his incompetence?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, just because the Leader of the Opposition keeps asserting the same fake premise doesn't make it real. What is real, Mr. Speaker, is the government of Canada can control certain things. We can control investments that we make in partnership with Canadian businesses and Canadian workers to build a strong economy here. We can work with provinces and territories, as we're proud to do, to defend the Canadian economy and to work with the United States to get an agreement that will be in the interests of Canada, something the Leader of the Opposition will never get a chance to do.
Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, Jacqueline Stone is a mom from Manitoba, from Landmark, Manitoba. She's working two jobs, one as a bus driver and one at the grocery store, and yet she can't afford to feed her own family and lost her home because of rising interest rates. She said, you find yourself going to the grocery store, grabbing what you need, then doing an audit of your cart to see what you can afford, and sometimes having to put things back. It's embarrassing, she said. Mr. Speaker, the only people that should be embarrassed are the Liberals, because after 10 years in power, this is how expensive it's become to live in Canada. The reckless deficit spending has created Canada's inflation problem. When will it end so that Canadians like Jacqueline can afford to live?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives opposite should listen to Canadians who are on the front lines and who are working in favour of making the school food program permanent. The Coalition for Healthy School Food called the program a generationally important decision that will change the future of Canadian society and the health and well-being of children. Children First Canada said this isn't about just food, it's about dignity, learning, and equity. And the Ontario Public School Boards Association said it will strengthen student well-being and success. These are Canadians on the front lines fighting food insecurity in our communities. I would encourage us all to support the budget that will make the National School Food Program permanent. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Speaker, I don't think Liberals understand the state of Canada after 10 years of their government. Ms. Stone lost her home because mortgage rates skyrocketed as a result of rising interest rates caused by their massive Liberal deficits. She works at a grocery store and yet can't afford the food at the grocery store. In fact, over 2 million Canadians use food banks in a single month this year. 1 in 5 are employed. 1/3 are children. Mr. Speaker, is this what the Liberals envisioned after 10 years in power, that millions of Canadians would be struggling to afford food? They owe Canadians an explanation. How is this possible in Canada in 2025?
The honourable minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the hypocrisy from Conservatives is staggering. It's unbelievable to hear this kind of outrage from Conservatives who voted against and fought against all of the affordability programs. First and foremost, housing affordability, which they've shown no support for decades. We are focused on delivering, and we're seeing results. Average rents are coming down, home prices are coming down, mortgage rates are coming down. That's affordability, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Moose Jaw Lake Centre Lanigan.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians want dignity and to be able to feed their families without relying on food banks. Under this Liberal government, they can't. Food Banks Canada reports 2.2 million visits in a single month. The food bank in Moose Jaw is helping out twice as many people as they were 2 years ago. Families don't want handouts. They want their paychecks to go further so they can buy their own groceries. When will this Prime Minister stop forcing working families into food lines and start reining in their out-of-control spending so that their parents can actually afford to feed their families?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Speaker, the Conservatives voted no to dental care, no to the National School Food Program, no to the Canada Child Benefit, and no to a tax cut that helped 22 million Canadians. Our government brought in these measures to make life more affordable for Canadians, to help families, support workers, build a stronger Canada. But there's good news, Mr. Speaker. There's good news. On November 4th, the Conservative Party will have another chance. A chance to say yes to Canadians and yes to measures that make a real difference in people's lives. Mr. Speaker, will they stand with Canadians or will they continue to stand in the way?
The honourable member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win with the United States. For British Columbia, that means negotiating a softwood lumber agreement. In response to the collapse of trade negotiations on Friday, the Prime Minister failed to even mention softwood. Since he took office, softwood tariffs tripled, going from 14% to 45%. Just yesterday, Sinclair Forest Products reduced its production by 40% in 3 of their mills in northern BC. 350 mill workers are affected by the cuts. When will this Prime Minister finally stand up for forestry workers?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as someone who grew up in a forestry town in northern Vancouver Island, I understand the issue.
That's right.
The softwood lumber is the lifeblood of the small forestry communities in this country. We are talking with the premiers. We are working together. We've been very clear the U.S. tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber are absolutely unjustified, and we are working very hard to resolve this.
The honourable member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
BC forestry workers that I know don't want handouts. They want their good-paying jobs back.
Hear, hear.
BC Council of Forest Industries President and CEO Kim Hackstead said last week, the recent increase in U.S. tariffs and duties is a serious blow to an industry already strained by years of uncertainty, mill closures, and job losses. The federal government must make resolving the softwood lumber dispute a national priority. When will the Prime Minister finally stand up for BC forest workers?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, that's why we've put together a $700 million liquidity package. That's why we put together a $500 million retooling fund. That's why we're meeting with the premiers to work on this every single day. This industry has been unfairly and unjustly treated by the Americans. We will work hard to fix that.
The honourable member for Kenora Kiwetanung.
The Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win with the United States, but he's broken that promise when it comes to softwood lumber.
That's right.
Softwood tariffs were at 14% when he took office, then they jumped to 35%, and they're now 45%, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister has sold out our workers as softwood tariffs have tripled. Now the Ear Falls sawmill is facing an indefinite shutdown affecting hundreds of workers and devastating the entire community.
Sad.
Yet the Liberals have not lifted a finger to provide any support. So, Mr. Speaker, will this Prime Minister stop selling out Canadian workers?
Hear, hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, $50 million in EI support is not nothing. $700 million in liquidity support is not nothing. $500 million in retooling support is not nothing. Mr. Speaker, we are working hard to solve this problem for the Canadian workers.
The Honourable Member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that he would negotiate a win with the United States by July 21st. He has broken that promise, leaving softwood lumber workers out of work and out in the cold. When he took office, softwood tariffs were at 14%, and now they're at 45%. And the Prime Minister didn't even mention our mill workers in Washington. Workers in Grand Forks are worried about their mortgages, their neighbors, and how they're going to afford their next meal. When will the Prime Minister stop selling out our lumber workers and finally get the deal that he promised them?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, we have been clear. The U.S. tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber are absolutely unjustified. We are working at every level to resolve this. The $50 million in EI support, the $700 million in liquidity support, the $500 million in retooling. We are working very hard to solve this issue, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister promised Canadians he would negotiate a win with the United States. When this Prime Minister took office, softwood lumber tariffs were at 14%. Then they climbed to 35%. Now they are at 45%. Because of his failures, mills have closed their doors and forestry towns are paying the price. In Miramichi, we have seen mills closures at Arbec Forest Products just because this Prime Minister can't close a deal. When will this Prime Minister put his big boy pants on and finally stand up for Canada's forest industry?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The people of Miramichi, the people of Bathurst, the people of Chipman, Minto, Madawaska, all through northwest, northeastern New Brunswick know that the softwood lumber industry is a key part of our economic future. But the tariffs are putting our workers and businesses in jeopardy. That's why we put real solutions on the table. $700 million in support through the Business Development Bank. $500 million for retooling, $50 million for worker supports.
That's right.
That's alongside the Strategic Research Fund, Response Fund that helps our businesses pivot and adapt. This is the kind of support we need in New Brunswick and across Canada.
Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, I drafted Conservative Private Members Bill C-225. This is known as Bailey's Law and is the most dramatic bill to address intimate partner violence in Canadian history. Bailey's family here, Trish, Debbie, are present in Ottawa and they are watching. Mr. Speaker, they want to know, victims want to know, will the Liberals back Bill C-225, yes or no?
Show some respect. The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the member raises a very important concern that Canadians have and our government shares. We've always stood up against gender-based violence, Mr. Speaker. We currently have a bill in the House, Bill C-9, that addresses femicide and makes it a conditional first-degree crime in that bill, Mr. Speaker. We're also making bail harder to obtain for those accused of sexual offences, including those involving choking, suffocation, and strangulation. We're also going to be bringing a gender-based violence bill later on this year, Mr. Speaker, so we're working on all fronts.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, these Liberals tell us all they're doing in Bill C-14. They could be doing more by passing Bill C-225. Mr. Speaker, I spoke with Flo Bellman and Paul Henderson. Their daughter, Darian, was killed by her intimate partner. They support this bill. Trish and Debbie support this bill. NDP Premier David Eby supports this bill. I see that minister is wearing a button. Why doesn't she swap that button for a purple ribbon and get behind this bill, let the family know, ditch the button, get the ribbon, and support this bill? Yes or no?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, it's not about buttons or ribbons. Of course, my button is about supporting the RCMP, and I support law enforcement across this country that often has to address a lot of these situations. It's important, Mr. Speaker, that we take important measures and steps to fight gender-based violence in our country, and we're doing exactly that. We have a bill in this House right now. We're bringing a very comprehensive bill in the coming weeks on gender-based violence, and I'd love to work with the member opposite to address this issue, this very serious issue, in the best way possible.
Country. Honourable member for Foothills.
Chinese tariffs on Canadian canola are punishing farmers and driving up food costs for Canadians. Almost 6 million tons of canola is being blocked from China, and yet the Prime Minister and the Agriculture Minister have not met with their Chinese counterparts. In fact, at committee, the Agriculture Minister admitted that he hasn't even discussed the tariffs with his Beijing counterpart. While farmers are being punished by these tariffs, the Liberals are standing on the sidelines. Will the Prime Minister, when he meets with his Chinese counterpart this week, fight for farmers, get tariff reductions, or will he come back empty-handed yet again?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One thing that we can be proud of is our canola producers, because they are making the best canola in the world. China is putting absolutely unjustified tariffs on our producers. Yes, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture are in Asia right now. They are looking at new markets for our producers, but they will also try to fix this trade dispute. But that's not it, Mr. Speaker. We are there to support our producers in the meantime with the Canadian biofuel markets. We are also supporting producers with...
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
They should be supporting Canadian producers by getting those markets back. When the tariffs were put on Canadian canola, the Prime Minister promised he'd have high-level engagement. It's been 8 months, no engagement, and the tariffs from China have actually increased. Right. And it's not just canola. Peas, pork, seafood are all facing Chinese tariffs. Canadian beef has been blocked from China since 2021. Farm families are literally paying for Liberal inaction. Yeah. Farmers deserve to be a priority. When the Prime Minister meets with the Chinese President, will he get reductions on these tariffs, or will he come home empty-handed yet again?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, it's completely false to claim that this government is not advancing the interests of Canadian farmers and Canadian agriculture. When I was in the Indo-Pacific just 10 days ago, I raised the issues relating to agriculture with my Chinese and Indian counterparts. Let me assure this House that at all times we are advancing the interests of our farmers, and let me assure this House that the minister responsible is in the region at the time doing just that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Swift Current Grasslands, Kindersley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the minister isn't even meeting with his counterparts on his trip, and he's proving to be as ineffective as his predecessor. Harvest on the prairies is coming to an end, and Canadian farmers are still enduring tariffs on canola and pulse products imposed by China. Exports of these crops to China have halted, and they need relief while the government is slow to act. Ahead of a meeting with the President of China, the Prime Minister says things will take time. Meanwhile, farmers' bins are full, and there's no new markets for them to go to. With food prices skyrocketing and farm profitability dropping, Canadians want to know, is the Prime Minister getting a deal done, or will he come home empty-handed yet again?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, let me reiterate, when I was in the Indo-Pacific, I reiterated the interests of Canadian farmers and the agricultural sector writ large on canola, on agricultural products, as well as on seafood and other items. Let me also reiterate that we will seek to diversify supply chains for Canadian industry across the board with countries outside and inside the region so as to grow this economy and make it the strongest in the G7.